Hello, everyone. I'm going to start the question. What if the very thing that is holding you back are those carefully laid out plans that you've had since maybe you were small? So, you see, from childhood, we're told something go to school, do well in school. And once you're done with school, they'll tell you, get good grades. When you're done with school, everybody then asks you, well, I was asked, Ufoma, what's your plan? What are you going to do in 5 years? When you respond, they then tell you, hustle low, network enough, and then you'll be on the path to success. But if you're like me, you soon come to realize that success is never really a one straight line. This is not just personal, it's global too. In the year 2000, world leaders came together to deliberate and launch what it is they called the Millennium Development Goals. It was simple. They were going to take on the world's largest problems and solve them by 2015. But reality pushed back. Poverty is very stubborn. Inequality ran too deep. And the progress was slower than they envisaged. So, what did they do? They embraced the pivot. And the lessons, the wins, and maybe the failures of the MDGs have now become what we know today as the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, I'm not trying to bore you about global policy or come talk to you about politics and things like that. I'm here to talk to you about something that I've come to learn about life. So, growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer. Lawyers in the house. I really just wanted people to say Ufoma, my father's name, and then put the SAN, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. It didn't help that my mother always used to call me Ogbota. If you are Urobo, if you're not, Ogbota means someone that talks too much. I could talk, I could argue, I would ask questions. In fact, when you finish talking, I must have the last word. And so my uncles and my family members would say, this girl is a natural lawyer. She should go and study law. And so I embraced the dream. Fast forward to time to get when I was about to get into the university, I realized that the school that I was going to go to did not have law. But I was still on that straight path to law. And so every holiday in 100 level and 200 level, I would go and work in law firms because I thought by the time I'm leaving university, when I want to apply to go to Oxford to study law, they will say, oh, this girl has a very good track record of doing internships at law firms. But by my third year, I was done. The dream was dead. I really just wanted to graduate and hopefully, maybe, possibly work in the big fours. But after school, my first job was in HR. After that, I found myself in a marketing agency where I spent the next 3 odd years of my life. And on some days, I was very frustrated. Don't get me wrong, I loved my job, I was good at it. But I found something different that I loved. And this thing kept pulling me from left, right, and center. What was it? I love Nigeria. And beyond loving Nigeria, I love Africa. And I wanted to contribute. But every day I'm moving from one client meeting to another client meeting, talking about budgeting, talking about operations. And honestly, I was done with it. But one day, something happened. One day at work, I sat down, I was frustrated. I'm a Christian, so I was praying, I was listening. You guys know those, Christians know those songs that you listen to when you just want to get into the spirit. I was like, God, help my life. And I researched political consulting agencies. And I saw different political consulting agencies around the world. And I started to see how they ran. And I found something interesting. They actually function like marketing agencies. And so the same way we onboard clients, we go through strategy, we go through budgeting and execution, that's also how they function. I was very happy. But that was the beginning of an end. And so I took a step further. I did a certification course in political campaign management. I worked on a few campaigns here and there. And God willing, I was able to pivot. So today, I'm not a political consultant yet. But for the past 2.5 years, I've been working to strengthen our democratic culture in Africa, one nation at a time, starting here in Nigeria. And I've learned a few things in just embracing the different pivots. One thing for me is that the path to relevance really is not about following a straight line. There's no 1 step, 2 step, 5 steps to attaining relevance. It's about the discipline of embracing pivots. And with every pivot that I've had to go through, I've learned 3 disciplines. One, the discipline of being an observer. You have to be able to observe beyond your roadmap and your plans what it is that is happening around you. And for me, when I started to fall in love with Nigeria and Africa, it meant I needed to take a deep dive into what about African development I really wanted to do. And so I landed on democracy and governance as 2 issues that I wanted to contribute to. The second discipline is the discipline of humility. It took humility for me to agree that my plan to work in KPMG, PwC, and the rest was not going to materialize. Even when my friend called me one day at my marketing agency job that I was frustrated, I said, Ufoma, I always thought you were going to work in one of these big fours. What's the name of this agency you're working in again? And I was like, Haba. To her, I was not yet on the path to success. And so I embraced that my path was different, and it allowed me to double down on the skills that I needed to learn, skills that are really serving me till today. And the third discipline was the discipline of action. My pastor would say, have a bias for action. And so I took steps, the certification, applying and getting into a fellowship program to learn about the Nigerian legislature, and then also applying for jobs. I would like to think that my journey is not an anomaly. In fact, when you look at someone like Oprah Winfrey, who was fired from her job for being too emotional, and then she needed to humble herself and take a job at a local daytime news station, which at the time was considered a lesser genre to TV, news on TV. But she knew something. She observed that her unique strength was in human connection and empathy. And so what did she do with it? She had an idea to build a global media house, and today we are celebrating Oprah because everybody knows OWN, which is her network. And so if you're like me 3 odd years ago, when I wasn't sure what it is I was going to do with my life and how to materialize the passion and the dream that I had for Africa, Nigeria, into reality, I want to tell you something. The skills, the pivots that you're experiencing today, they're never random. They're all part of a journey that is leading you to where it is that you want to go to. We create what it is that we want to see. And so, I want you to understand something, that nobody ever really goes through life knowing that from point A to point B to point C and to point D. When my mom called me Ogbota as a little girl, it initially translated to, oh, she's going to be a lawyer. Then it moved on to staff advocacy because I was doing HR. Then it went into business advocacy because I was doing marketing. And now it's citizen and governance advocacy. But Ogbota don't reach TEDx NUTM. I'm still talking too much. But this time around, I'm talking in the area of my passion. And I'm talking with understanding of the things that I'm doing. So maybe if you had seen me 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been standing in front of you to talk to you about the things that I'm talking about now. But today I can do that because I've embraced every pivot that life has shown to me. And I would also say this, the path to relevance, whether as an individual or a nation or even a continent, is never linear. We must have the courage and the bravery to embrace every turn, sometimes happy, many times painful, but it will take courage for us to really get to where it is that we want to go to. Thank you very much.